The Shield is over. Why Rollins and Brock Lesnar as the next WWE World Heavyweight Champion? Plus, who made the WrestleMania Dream Card bracket? That and more right now on Rope Break Radio.
What's going on, Rope Breakers? Welcome to Rope Break Radio Episode 7. I'm your host, AuSSy. We hope you stay for the entire show here. We got a good one for you. It's going to be mainly about the Seth Rollins heel turn heard round the world. And if you didn't see it, you haven't seen it yet, you need to immediately get on YouTube or whatever. Hell, you can even see kind of a meme-style video up on our Facebook page right now of Seth Rollins turning his back on the Shield and basically breaking the back of the Shield, both Ambrose and Reigns, with a chair. It was pretty vicious. It was definitely a mark-out moment for myself. Anybody that knows me knows that I am a diehard Seth Rollins guy. Not a Paul Heyman guy. I'm a Seth Rollins guy. Always have been. Okay, so first off, kind of want to, glance over Payback and Monday Night Raw this past week, Sunday and Monday, of course. I think both were pretty good. A lot of people giving differing opinions, though. As far as Payback goes, I saw a lot of people saying, hey, this pay-per-view was great, excellent, awesome. I'm not sure I was sold, to be honest with you. Obviously, the two main events with John Cena and Bray Wyatt in the Last Man Standing match, excellent match. The Shield versus Evolution, excellent match. Daniel Bryan, the segment with the belt, not bad, not great either, though. So, as far as the whole pay-per-view goes, I was a little disappointed in the Sheamus and Antonio Cesaro match, especially the way it ended there with a small package. I was not very impressed with the Intercontinental Championship match between Bad News Barrett and RVD. I was a little disappointed that they kind of altogether cut out the Usos versus the Wyatts tag team title match. I know that they were included in the Last Man Standing match, but it just didn't give the same feel. I do think that they added a good, they were a good addition to the Last Man Standing match. I'm not necessarily sure, though, that that's the way I would have booked it, but then again, I'm not WWE creative, so I'm not booking it. I was glad, however, to see that the Adam Rose versus Jack Swagger match was cut, because I don't think that that match belonged on pay-per-view. I don't think that Adam Rose belongs on pay-per-view yet, and it looks like they have a little more faith in Bo Dallas at this point than they do in Adam Rose, because Bo Dallas was added to the card. Adam Rose was subtracted from the card. So you saw Bo Dallas versus Kofi Kingston there, and for not very long, obviously we saw Kane come in there and interfere. Not sure what the hell that did or, made sense at all. I don't think it did make sense at all. But regardless, we saw Bo Dallas. He got to get into his real cheesy, full-out heel character. I think it works. I think it works a lot better than the Adam Rose gimmick, and we'll see where they choose to go with it from here. I think he needs a legitimate feud with somebody. Kofi Kingston is probably not the guy for me. Although Kofi is kind of a fan favorite there, and you could get Bo Dallas over in that way, just, having him kind of being that heel guy against somebody that a lot of people like. But either way, I think Bo Dallas will do good, and I'm kind of worried about Adam Rose at this point. Now, moving on to Monday Night Raw, that show was absolutely terrible up until the end. I shouldn't say absolutely terrible, it just wasn't as good as we've been used to the past few weeks, I would say. Now, again, a lot of differing opinions. Some people going on, social media and saying this is a great episode of Raw. Others saying this show sucks. Even after the Shield broke up, people were saying the show was terrible, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't know what people are really looking for in a Monday Night Raw anymore, but it seems like they're looking for, Austin driving a beer truck to the ring every single Monday night, and it's just not going to happen. People still wishing that the Attitude Era would return. It's not going to happen. people wishing that CM Punk would come back. It's not going to happen for a while. So you kind of have to deal with what we've got. You kind of have to go with what we got. And I think right now they're doing a pretty good job. I do, however, think that that Shield segment at the end definitely made the show. Otherwise, it probably would have been a pretty lackluster show. I can't remember what I graded it. If I graded it on the Facebook page, I would probably give that show an overall B just because of that segment alone. That segment was an A+ in my opinion. Rest of the show probably a C, C-. So evens out around a B for me. I was really sports entertained by the end of the show anyway. So let's kind of piggyback off of that Shield segment there. And a lot of people are asking, why Seth Rollins? Why not Ambrose? Why not Reigns? It seems Reigns was perfect for the Evolution turn. He's that big body that Batista was, and now that he's quit, a lot of people thought that Reigns, would be a perfect fit for Evolution. Another thing that's worth noting, Matt from our site, Matt Donato, said, you know, he's still not really that polished altogether. I'm not sure those were his exact words, but he was kind of making the argument that Reigns would be good for Evolution because he still has some work to be done, which I totally agree with. That's probably the only reason why I think Reigns really fit with Evolution, because he's kind of like Batista was at that point where, yeah, he's big, he's got the look, he's got the size. Not necessarily sure he's, you know, got the mic skills yet or really has flourished to his full potential in the ring. I think Rollins fits perfectly. I'll tell you why just in a little bit. But I did take to the Facebook page and ask you guys what you thought. And I said, if you had a chance to speak directly to Seth Rollins after his heel turn, what would you have said? We got a couple people to answer that question. Mavericks D. Leon asks, just plain and simple, why? Pretty good response there from Mavericks. And I'm not sure that wouldn't be exactly what I would say if I were mad about it. Why? You know, simply that. Why, Rollins? Why'd you do it? William Hoffman Jr., who I believe is one of our giveaway winners from the Payback pay-per-view giveaway, which only 2 people signed up or competed in. William, your prize will be shipping tomorrow out of upstate New York. William asks, what did Triple H promise him? It's another good thing, or another good question to ask Seth Rollins if you were able to ask him a question. What was he promised? We're not sure if this is some kind of money transaction. That seems to be the way they were hinting on the post-show or backstage pass, rather, on the WWE Network. I'm not sure that, you know, he wasn't just jumping ship just for the power. Triple H has got all of the power in the WWE, essentially. I think that alone would be a reason to switch. But like I said, they were kind of foreshadowing some kind of money transaction. We'll see where they go with that. Brandon Manuel says, I would say thanks for making Monday Night Raw better, because I don't think anyone saw that coming. I think he's right there, and I think, and what I'll talk about in a minute, I think nobody saw it coming is exactly right. That is another reason that Seth Rollins was the perfect guy for the heel turn. Terrell Scott says he would warn Seth Rollins to keep an eye on Triple H. He turned his back on Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton. Terrell, you got a point there. Then again, it kind of makes you be instantly reminded of Stone Cold Steve Austin saying, DTA, don't trust anyone. I don't think that Rollins necessarily does trust Triple H. But then again, you know, to turn his back on Reigns and Ambrose like that, he must have some kind of incentive. And I thought I saw somebody earlier in the week on the page say, hey, what if this was a way for Seth Rollins to kind of destroy Evolution from within? I think that's a great idea, although I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think he would have went through great lengths like that to essentially beat the shit out of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. You saw the bruises and scars on Roman Reigns' back after Monday Night Raw. I don't think it would have went that far if it was only going to be a kind of like an infiltration storyline. But I guess we'll see. It remains to be seen. Now, as far as me, why was Rollins right for the heel turn? I think there's a number of reasons, and if you read my article earlier in the week about it up on ropebreakwrestling.com, you already know the way that I feel about it. I think Seth Rollins was the perfect person to make the turn just for a couple reasons. One being, nobody saw it coming. A lot of people were expecting Roman Reigns to turn, and if anybody else besides Reigns turned, they would probably expect Ambrose because he's the more heelish kind of character, if you may. I think just that fact alone made the turn great because nobody expected it. And in a world of wrestling nowadays, when you see, dirt sheets and all sorts of rumors, and we didn't know at all. We had no clue. And that's the type of stuff that I like. When creative can pull that off, when they can really fool everybody watching, including you and I, the people that are on doing dirt sheets and reading the Wrestling Observer newsletter and all sorts of stuff like that. We're on Twitter. We know all the rumors. That was never once brought up. That's what makes it great for me. It's kind of like back in the day when you saw somebody return. When Austin would come out, when somebody would return and they wouldn't tell you in advance, and it was a shock. You had no clue it was coming. That's what wrestling is all about to me. Those swerves where nobody saw it coming, that's what it's all about. So that alone, like I said, makes Seth Rollins worthy enough for the heel turn. Secondly, I think Rollins, out of the three, is the most well-rounded, polished character. He's got the best in-ring ability. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that and say that Dean Ambrose is probably better than him in the ring, and there's detractors to every argument that I'll make. But I think you'd be hard-pressed to make a solid argument against Seth Rollins as the best in-ring talent out of the Shield. Now, on the mic, yeah, I would probably say Ambrose is a little bit better, although he really hasn't shown it that often in his time with the Shield. Prior to being with the Shield, Jon Moxley, yes, he was a upper-level mic talent, but some of the stuff he said with the Shield, I don't know if it's because he's trying to be this outlandish Brian Pillman-like character, but his promos haven't been all that interesting or great to me. I think Seth Rollins has done a pretty good job on the mic. I'm not saying Rollins did better than Ambrose, but I'm saying Rollins has done a pretty good job in that respect too. I think he's a perfect match for Evolution just because you've got that guy that can be the future. Now, I know Ambrose and Reigns were just as, just as much the future as Rollins. But you have to look at it like this. And I said this on the page. Roman Reigns is about to be built into the next big babyface. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say John Cena status, but they're looking to build the Roman Empire, is the way I'm putting it. They're trying to make him the next Daniel Bryan, so to speak, in the way that he's going to be beat down and screwed, his own friends turning their back on him, and then he will rise above hate. He will overcome. He will never give up, and he will eventually win the WWE World Heavyweight Champion if they keep the belts together that long. Now, as far as Ambrose goes, people are worried that he's going to be left off the map. Now, here's a intriguing idea for you to think about. What if Ambrose is the next guy to join Evolution? Yeah, I'll let that sit there for a second. Because we remember, Evolution used to be 4 guys. Obviously, when Flair, Batista, Orton, and Triple H were there. Now, you've got... Back then, you had Ric Flair as the past, Triple H as the present, and Orton and Batista as the future. So 1 past, 1 present, 2 future. Now, if they wanted to create similar symmetry there, you could go with Triple H as the past, Orton as the present, and Ambrose and Rollins as the future. Now you got Roman Reigns out on an island on his own. Both of his best friends turned their back on him. Now you can work Rollins and Ambrose as a tag team, vicious heels, whatever. And you can have Reigns with his singles feud versus Triple H or Randy Orton or whoever. That keeps all 3 members relevant. That gives everybody a very, very, very solid push. And we'll see where they decide to go with it. But I think that would be a very intriguing option. I think that would be more intriguing than keeping Reigns and Ambrose together as a tag team. Because we know eventually Reigns is in line for a huge singles push. So then you kind of wonder what would happen with Ambrose. How do they dissolve the Shield, the last 2 members? How do they break up? I think the best way is for Ambrose to also turn heel and maybe join Evolution. I'm interested to know what you guys think about that, as I'm always interested to know what you guys think about anything I have to say. So please comment on the video, comment on the Facebook page, and of course, tweet us at Rope Break Wrestling. Now, where can they go from here is the question. Like I said, they could choose to go with Reigns and Ambrose as a tag team, but eventually we know that they have to split up. Or they can choose to have Ambrose turn on Reigns as well and join Evolution. Maybe he gets a deal next week and we see both of them join. Probably not. Wishful thinking as usual, but you know, that's just another option where they could go from here. Now, transitioning into the next thing that we're going to talk about is SummerSlam and the title situation that's being talked about at SummerSlam. Now you've got Brock Lesnar apparently slated to come back at SummerSlam. Looks like he may or may not face Daniel Bryan and possibly beat Daniel Bryan, in which case you might have supposed Money in the Bank winner Cesaro cash in with Heyman on Brock Lesnar. Maybe we see Heyman turn on Brock Lesnar, although that would be extremely hard for me to see right now, just the way that Heyman's still going out there and talking about, you know, my client Brock Lesnar has defeated The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania, blah, blah, blah. I think it's probably an unlikely scenario. As we hear the police, ambulance, fire trucks, whatever, go by the studio here, I hope they're on their way to save this rumor, save this potential wreckage, because I'm not sure that that's the right way to go. I think all along they've been slating Triple H versus Roman Reigns, and what better way for Reigns to really get over than against Brock Lesnar? Why not have Reigns maybe win the Money in the Bank and move on to get that title shot and come out and destroy Brock Lesnar and really get over as a babyface at SummerSlam? Then again, they could also go with Seth Rollins winning the Money in the Bank match with all the momentum he's going to have now. And then you could have him cash in on Daniel Bryan if he can somehow pull it out against Lesnar. And then you've got wicked heel and Rollins with the strap with Reigns to come and save the day. Not sure what they're going to do. I hope it's not just a Brock Lesnar beats Daniel Bryan and he's, you know, sitting there all tired out, and then you got Cesaro come in and cash in. I think Cesaro's losing steam quickly. I'm not saying that loss against Sheamus is the reason why. Just seems like every week more and more momentum is being lost. And we'll keep an eye on that. But I think if he's going to, you know, really continue that push, he's got to do something against Sheamus. He's got to take that strap. We'll see. We really will see what happens. Obviously, SummerSlam's still a couple months away. But it's never too early to speculate and, you know, read up on the dirt sheets and rumors on that. My question to you guys is, who would you rather have win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam? Would you like to see Lesnar beat Bryan? Would you like to see Bryan retain the title? Would you like to see Cesaro or Reigns or Rollins cash in Money in the Bank? Who do you think should come out of SummerSlam as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion? I want to know. Now, speaking of things I want to know, there's things you guys want to know. And of course, that's the best segment of our show. It's the questions period. And there's a couple different questions that we have to conquer on the page here. First off, Weslin Coleman asks, how can I tune into the podcast? Hopefully you made it here, Weslin, because this is how you tune in. You go on our Facebook page. We always post the link, It's always on ropebreakwrestling.com, where all of our posts, all of our memes, all of our short videos, everything we do is on ropebreakwrestling.com. Of course, we will always post the link on Facebook. We will always post the link on our Twitter page at Ropebreak Wrestling, and you can always tune in that way. We do this once a week. We meet up here on YouTube now, since SoundCloud wanted to F around and charge me. Their loss, our win. So as far as the questions we've got here for the show, we got a pretty good turnout for questions this week. So let's go ahead and get right to answering them. So Sean House Lechette, and Sean, tell me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, please. He asks, who will hold a singles title first, Rollins or Reigns? Very good question, and this is one that I kind of want to turn over to you guys and see what you guys think. I personally think it's still going to be Reigns. It still makes sense for Reigns to eventually get over, but then again, I say, who's he going to get over on? Maybe they give Rollins a strap first and have Reigns go over on Rollins to get that huge babyface push. So right now, the jury's still out on that. I'm not 100% sure who would take the strap first, but I'm going to stick with my gut, and my gut says Roman Reigns still gets a first singles belt out of the two. Mazen Abdullah asks, when are you guys going to post the WrestleMania Dream Card brackets? Well, guess what? It's your lucky day, Mazen, because we're going to talk about them right after we cover the questions. Right after the break, we're going to talk about who made our WrestleMania Dream Card brackets. We're going to talk about how you guys can vote, how you guys can win prizes, and all of that. That's coming after the questions segment, after the break. On to the next question comes from Brandon Manuel, who's becoming a regular. Brandon, we appreciate it. He asks, how did Rope Break Wrestling get started, and what's the goal you want to reach for WWE and wrestling fans? Brandon, great question. We appreciate you actually showing concern for us behind the ropes at Rope Break Wrestling. The way that our site and our Facebook page and our Twitter and this podcast, everything got started. 3 friends, myself, Matt Donato, Alec Kozubski, the 3 original rope breakers. We had been doing some wrestlogs over at my old site, allrightsports.com, which is no longer in existence. I gave that up to start ropebreakwrestling.com. And our goal really is, honestly, we've seen a lot of these rumor sites and dirt sheet sites and all that stuff, and they're just kind of blah, boring. It's always just, no pictures, one sentence with a rumor and no source. We kind of wanted to have a site by the fans, for the fans, not to be cheesy and cliche, but honestly, that's, we are 3 wrestling marks, IWC members, just like most of you guys. We're out here, we're trying to get our voice heard, and we want to provide you with those rumors and, the best of the dirt sheets. And then again, we also want to do things like this, the podcast. We want to do giveaways for the fans, which we do every single pay-per-view. We also want to give more intriguing articles on our Facebook page and, of course, on ropebreakwrestling.com, where all of our articles are originally posted. We kind of want to give you guys a third dimension rather than just saying, hey, apparently Roman Reigns is going to win the title. My source is Wrestling Observer newsletter. No, we kind of want to say, hey, did you guys hear that Roman Reigns might win the title at SummerSlam? This is what we think about it. Now, what do you guys think about it? We kind of want to get you engaged. We're not just spewing garbage. We want to kind of get conversation going, and that's our main goal, our main focus is to become everybody's number one stop instead of going to a different site, especially Bleacher Report. Now, I know we always kind of give gimmick hints and stuff like that about, get out of the bleachers and get in the ring with Rope Break. We're not a multi-million-dollar company here that decides who's good enough to write for our website regarding wrestling. We are 3 fans, 3 lifelong fans with, quite frankly, a lot of WWE knowledge, and we want to provide you guys with the opportunity to speak your voice, your opinion. We don't just want to give spew garbage like they do on Bleacher Report, honestly. It's all a bunch of opinionated trash, and most of the time the people suck anyways. And that's just me. Maybe that's me being a heel, because I know a lot of people check Bleacher Report, but honestly, when the pay-per-view rolls around, we're not doing slideshows. We're doing giveaways. We're doing meaningful articles and podcasts. No disrespect to guys like Big Nasty on Bleacher Report. It's more like the lower level guys there. But Rope Break Wrestling is the NWO, essentially, of online wrestling sites. So, Brandon, I appreciate you asking the question, giving us a chance to kind of give you our life story here. Again, appreciate your support. Pedro Davila, he asks, do you think Ziggler will resign with WWE when his contract is up? You know what? That's a pretty good question, too, because a lot of people are probably thinking, you know, he probably should, the way he's been being misused, the past year and a half or so now. Obviously, he won the title the night after WrestleMania 29, but since then it's been downhill. It doesn't look like it's looking up either. So unless Ric Flair comes through and he does that managing scenario that he's dying to do with Ziggler, I don't see them doing anything with Ziggler in the near future. And that is a concern for me, because maybe he does walk. Maybe he does go to Global Force. I don't see him going to TNA or anything like that. I think Ziggler has a overwhelming love for the business, and we don't really know what's going on backstage, if he's really that frustrated or if that's something that they're trying to get through. Obviously, he wants to be a main eventer, but not everybody can be a main eventer at all times. So it remains to be seen with Dolph Ziggler. He's a two-time world champion, so he's not, Zack Ryder or anything really off in the sunset. I think Ziggler still has a place on the roster. Question is, will they continue to misuse him? I think he stays with WWE. I think they will want to keep Ziggler, and when his contract is up, they will show that they want to keep him. So I think he stays. Now, Jose AuSSy, that's how I'm going to say it. Jose, if I'm wrong, let me know. He says, so with WWE possibly setting up the world title at Money in the Bank, could we see creative giving us a great swerve storyline by feeding us the idea Bryan will be there, when in fact they split the titles again by letting two superstars grab each title, and now we have two world champs? That seems to be a pretty intriguing scenario that you provide there. I think if Daniel Bryan isn't going to be there, and it's not going to be Kane versus Bryan at a stretcher match, which, by the way, WTF, I thought we were going to get that burial match, buried alive match, apparently not. I would like to see them just flat out split the titles and do two separate ladder matches for them, honestly. And then maybe you see Daniel Bryan come through and maybe he shows up unannounced and wins one of the titles. You know what I mean? That'd be a pretty good surprise / swerve there. Daniel Bryan stripped of both belts. They're going to split them up. They're going to have two ladder matches, and then, there's all these qualifiers, and then Daniel Bryan comes and wins one of the straps, accompanied by, either Rollins, Reigns, Lesnar, somebody else. Obviously not Lesnar. I don't know why I said that. Would win the other title at Money in the Bank. I think that would be an intriguing scenario. I don't think they're going to have two different people grab two different belts, but I've been wrong many, 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 many times, and I'm not afraid to, I'm not ashamed to admit that. So there's really a bunch of different scenarios that they could have, to be perfectly honest. Trey Cornell Bethel asks, now that the Shield split up, is Dean Ambrose's career on the downhill slope? Don't give up yet. I know a lot of people are panicking, saying, oh God, Ambrose isn't going to get pushed now. He's going to be left behind when Reigns goes and wins the title. You never know. You never know what they have in store, because a lot of people thought Rollins might be left behind, and now we see what's happening with Rollins. He's getting even a harder push than Reigns as it stands. For the time being, you can't argue that. Him joining Evolution is a push within itself. So, as far as Dean Ambrose goes, I still think there's an opportunity for him. Like I said, maybe he joins Evolution as well to bring the group back to 4, and then you have Reigns on an island all alone. That remains to be seen, but I don't think Ambrose's career is on a downhill slope just yet. Jay Holland asks, who will be champion first? Wyatt, Reigns, Cesaro, Rollins, Barrett, or Ambrose. Those are pretty much the future of WWE right there. A pretty good, solid list. Question is it Reigns or Cesaro or Rollins? I think it's one of those three. Just based on the dirt sheets and rumors right now, I would say either Reigns, Cesaro, or Rollins. I think Cesaro can win the championship if they go with the program that they're going with for SummerSlam. I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go. I think you could have Bray Wyatt maybe even win the Money in the Bank ladder match. Really, I think whoever wins the Money in the Bank ladder match is going to be the next WWE World Heavyweight Champion, minus possibly Brock Lesnar for 5 minutes, like we're hearing. But I think any of those guys would be a really solid choice. I'm not sure Ambrose is the guy right now. I think not to say like he's on a downhill slope like Trey Cornell, Bethel is worried about, but he hasn't been really built like the rest of the guys just yet. I think he's a champion down the road, but not quite yet. So right now, if I had to guess, I would probably say Cesaro or Reigns. And if I had to pick between the two, I would probably say Cesaro, just based on the rumors that we're hearing right now. Robert Lucas asks, how long can they keep this Bray Wyatt John Cena storyline before it gets stale, with Cena coming out on top? And did it hurt the Usos losing pretty much clean to Rowan and Harper? Seems like their title reign is kind of tainted, losing straight to the Wyatts. Now, as far as their title reign being tainted, you have to kind of look back and understand, Robert, that in most cases, the tag team champions never win a non-title match on Raw. It's weird booking, but that's the way they always do it. Whenever it's a non-title match on Raw, they seem to lose no matter who the tag team champions are. It's kind of a way of giving you false hope that there will be a title change, giving a false sense of hope to the challengers, the Wyatts in this scenario, that, hey, we can beat the Usos. And then it normally doesn't happen at the pay-per-view. But they could be gearing up for a title change. I think the Usos are still the best bet for the tag team belts right now, especially as long as Bray Wyatt has no gold. I don't think it makes any sense having the rest of the Wyatt family carrying straps except for the leader. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't think that the Wyatts are going to get a title reign out of this feud with the Usos here. Now, as far as how long they can keep Bray Wyatt and John Cena storyline going, looks like it's come to an end. Looks like John Cena's gearing up to be back in the title hunt with his segment with Stephanie McMahon on Monday Night Raw. Now, Cena coming out on top, that's a different scenario. As many of you were quick to argue with me on the Facebook page during Payback, I didn't really care for the booking of the match between Cena and Wyatt. Of course, I loved the ending. It was a great ending. The question is, and the whole match was good, the question is, did John Cena need to win that match? And I'm not hating on John Cena at all. That's a very, very quick and common misconception. Is John Cena my favorite talent on the roster right now? No. Why is that? Because he's been around for 10 plus years, and I'm looking forward to new, bigger and better things. That doesn't mean I hate John Cena. Don't get it twisted. I think it was a great match, like I said before. But the problem is, Bray Wyatt could have really, really, really benefited from that win. Now, I kind of like where they're going. It seems like they're going with Bray Wyatt was left off Raw, selling the injuries. John Cena was fine, completely fine. Last man standing match with the crazy Bray Wyatt. He comes back the next night, unscarred, not a limp, not a bruise, nothing. That bothers me. But it looks like what they might be doing with Wyatt is kind of like an Undertaker-Kane type thing where that match was so terrible he disappears for a little while, then he's going to come back and do something crazy. That remains to be seen. But in the time being, this is good for Rowan and Harper because they're kind of getting their own, mic time, as we saw with the promo there on Monday Night Raw. I like that. So as far as the storyline going, I think it's come to an end. The Usos, I don't think it hurts them losing to the Wyatts on Raw. Like I said, they usually do that with a non-title match on Raw, but that all remains to be seen. Mark Lathrop. Let me know, Mark, how you say your name. Does Mark Sherman deserve the chaotic wrestling champion? Great question. Problem is, this is a WWE news and rumor site, and we don't normally cover anything like chaotic wrestling. As far as that goes, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a expert on chaotic wrestling, but I did do a little search on chaotic wrestling, and looks like it's a pretty legitimate thing going on over there in Massachusetts. But to be perfectly honest, I could give a shit less. But from the video that I watched on their site, Sherman seems to be the real deal. So, Mark, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a chaotic wrestling fan or that I know much or anything about the promotion, but Sherman looks like he's the real deal. Chaotic wrestling doesn't look terrible. Probably better than TNA, to be perfectly honest with you. But that's that. Derek Silkett asks, now that Seth is out of the Shield, who will take his place and take down Triple H in Evolution? Good question. A lot of people are already speculating who the next member of the Shield is going to be. Is it going to be Prince Devitt? Is it going to be Sami Zayn? I saw on somebody's Facebook page. What a terrible, terrible, terrible option. Sami Zayn, I love the guy. Love him. And you'll see later on, or you've already seen, he made the WrestleMania Dream Card bracket. He does not belong in the Shield. Flat out. If you watch NXT TakeOver and you heard his new theme song and you saw him kind of dancing and clapping his way out to the ring, listen, I don't have a problem with that. It just does not fit with the Shield. He doesn't fit with the Shield at all. Just because you're a good wrestler and you're a good talent does not mean that you're automatically a go in any type of gimmick or character. So Zayn definitely doesn't fit. I don't think Devitt does either. A lot of people are just marking out and dreaming about that because they could paint his face with the Shield mask. Wow. No, now I don't think they should or are going to add anybody to the Shield. I think it's either going to be left as a tag team for now, or like I said, Ambrose will turn on Reigns as well, and then there will be no more Shield. That's the whole thing with Triple H, is he's saying till the Shield is no more. But then again, you could see Ambrose and Reigns go out and recruit somebody. The question being who? I've got no clue. A lot of people are suggesting Corey Graves. I'm not necessarily sure. I think he's ready for the main roster. I still kind of see him as a ripoff CM Punk. I know I'm going to get a lot of hatred for that, but I really don't care, to be perfectly honest. I don't think he's really ready for the main roster. Now listen, look out for a guy that you may or may not have heard of. I don't think he's going to be brought to the Shield, but I think this guy would be a good fit, and he goes by the name in NXT of Slate Randall. He hasn't been on NXT TV yet. You might know him as Sean from The Rock's TV series a few years back, The Hero. Yes, that guy. He was managed by the late, great Paul Bearer, Percy Pringle, as you may or may not have seen in Hollywood Championship Wrestling. He is great on the mic, great in the ring, and he would fit in that gimmick. I think he would be a really, really, really great fit. I don't think that they're going to use him, though. It doesn't even look like they have anything for him at NXT TV yet, which is a damn shame. Go on and check him out. I forget what the name that he went by in Hollywood Championship Wrestling. I think it was Hollywood Championship Wrestling. He was out there with Percy Pringle, like I said. Just go look up Sean from The Hero or whatever. Slate Randall. Look up Slate Randall on YouTube. Listen to some of the promos. He does wicked good work. I think he would be a good fit. He's got the look for the Shield. So go check him out and let me know what you think about that, Derek. Wolfson. Wolfson has been on the Facebook page quite often lately. Thank you for that. He asks, now that the Shield is a tag team, do you think they will still be as dominant? Now, this is kind of, going over what I've been talking about here. I'm not necessarily sure that they're going to be a tag team yet, but good question, because we saw the Ascension tweet out on Twitter Monday night or Sunday night. Was it Sunday or Monday? It was Monday. We saw, was it Victor? I think that we've got the tweet here, if you give me a second here. Victor, yeah, here it is. Victor from the Ascension tweets out, "The Shield survives through the chaos. Rest up, Hounds of Justice, for chaos attracts more chaos." Now, he couldn't have been any more right. This was after Payback, because the chaos that would ensue at Monday Night Raw was just that. But question is, now, do they bring in the Ascension to face Reigns and Ambrose? I'm not necessarily sure, because Reigns is, again, in line for that huge push, so that remains to be seen. But good question, and we will see. Either way, I think that they're going to remain dominant. They might be down and hurt for a little while, but they're building these guys up for the future, so I think they'll be just fine. The final question comes from Stephen Lawrence Beach, who asks, "With the state of the WWE Championship belt in limbo, what do you think the next move is? This would be a good time to push someone over that can fill the slot." I agree. Problem is, I don't think they're going to have Daniel Bryan strip it. They worked too long and too hard, just about a year's worth of build. It was a year's worth of build for Daniel Bryan to finally win that championship, and I think he's going to keep it probably up until SummerSlam, unless, of course, he's unable to perform at Money in the Bank. Then obviously the belt would be stripped, and they would give it to an up-and-coming talent. At that point, I don't think it'd be given to anybody that doesn't deserve it. So Stephen Beach, I think you can rest assured somebody new is coming at SummerSlam, and it will be somebody new that can really use the push. Thank you guys again for your questions. We are going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we are going to reveal the rest of our WrestleMania Dream Card bracket and tell you guys how you can vote and how you can win prizes based on that. Keep it locked. It's Rope Break Radio. You've got an upstart business, website, or maybe just a Facebook fan page, and you want to be taken seriously. Well, what's more serious than the first impression? And the most important thing about a first impression is your site logo. If you don't have a logo, what's it say about your site? You're not that serious. Well, here at Rope Break Wrestling, we get all of our logos from AA Digital Design and Film Production. If you don't like them on Facebook now, you better get to it. They do great work for an even better price. Cheap, cheap, cheap. I mean, I'm a college student. I can't afford to go out and pay some graphic designer to do crazy amounts of work for my website. So I do it with AA Digital Design, and they can do it for you. Like I said, go on Facebook, check them out, like their page. AA Digital Design and Film Production. They can do anything that your page, site, or small business needs to get to the next level. All right, we are back on Rope Break Radio, brought to you in part by RopeBreakWrestling.com and AA Digital Design and Film Production. And now is the best time of the podcast. Hopefully you guys are still here. Obviously you are if you're hearing this. It's time to reveal the WrestleMania Dream Card bracket. That's right. For the past week or so, we've been talking about our WrestleMania Dream Card. We enlisted you guys, the fans, the rope breakers, to give us your dream matches between one current star and one legend. Now, originally I'd given the rules out and said had to be one current star, any promotion, versus one legend, past or present. Well, I didn't say past or present. I said one legend, dead or alive. Now, I kind of tweaked the rules a little bit, and we ended up taking 25. Now, not all of them are submissions you guys gave us, but some that we, the Rope Break team here, designed ourselves. But for a good amount, we used yours. And if we used yours, keep an eye out, because when these go to vote, if you originally picked one of these matches in our original post about the WrestleMania Dream Card, we've got it on tap. We know who picked what, and we are going to be keeping track. As we do the voting for the matches. Basically, it's going to be just like a bracket. It's going to be a bracket. The first week, we'll have the first week matchups. And as they go through, as you guys vote on the website, vote to keep your own match alive. Because if your own match should win the whole damn thing, you will win a prize. So essentially, you need to enlist all your friends, your family, everybody you know to get onto the site and vote every single day once we release this. Now, the voting is going to start next week during Monday Night Raw, right at 8 a.m., right at 7:30 p.m. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. During the Raw pre-show, we are going to start the voting on RopeBreakWrestling.com. Now, I'll post the link on the Facebook page as well. It's going to give you access to vote on all of the first round matchups. And then the next week, we'll vote on the second round matchups. Then the third, then the fourth, and then the fifth will be the winner. I will release the entire bracket immediately following this show on our Facebook page, so you'll be able to check it out. Matter of fact, you know what? Watch this magic. Keep an eye on the screen. In 3, 2, 1, bam, there's the bracket right there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not giving you the bracket until I announce which matches made the bracket. Take a look. Here we go. First off, we already know a couple matches that I made the wallpapers for that were up on the Facebook page. If you want a wallpaper made, first off, those that I posted are wallpapers. You can download those off Facebook and use them as wallpapers for your computers. Now, if you want a wallpaper out of any of the other matchups that we haven't done yet, let us know. Let us know by commenting on the video here below, and I will personally make a wallpaper for that matchup that you're choosing. Now, without further ado, we already know that the following matches made the Dream Card. Cesaro versus Angle in an 60-minute Iron Man match for the United States Championship. We've got Bray Wyatt versus Mankind in a hardcore title match in a boiler room brawl. Then we've got the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels versus the freshly turned heel Seth Rollins in a ladder match for the Old School Intercontinental Championship. We've also got Daniel Bryan versus Chris Benoit in a submission match. And the final match that we've already given out to you is Sami Zayn versus Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio in a triple threat match for the Cruiserweight Championship. So, some pretty solid matches that we've given you already. Now, I'm going to go ahead and release the rest of them, the rest of the matches here, and then I'll pop up the graphic with the bracket, and I'll show you where I seeded everybody, and we'll show you who the first round matchups are. So first off, I've got a lot of people that came in and said, hey, we'd like to see Brian Pillman versus Dean Ambrose, and I totally understand the correlation between the two, and after talking about it with the Rope Breakers, we decided to go a little bit of a different angle. See, the WrestleMania Dream Card, we wanted to incorporate all of the really big draws and really, really big superstars along with all of the really hot young talent. So we ended up ditching Pillman. I know that's going to make a lot of people upset. We do love Brian Pillman. We do think he's a legend. He just, in our eyes, wasn't a big enough mega draw, and there was going to be a couple other people that were left off the card that probably deserved it a little bit more than Ambrose, and we found a good matchup for Dean Ambrose here. So let us know what you think about it. It's Edge versus Dean Ambrose in a street fight. I still think that's a pretty good matchup. I know a lot of people are saying Pillman versus Ambrose, but at the end of the day, is that really a dream? Like when you go to sleep at night, you go, I've got to see Brian Pillman versus Dean Ambrose. If it is, well, I apologize. But I think Edge and Ambrose would draw much better. And I want you to think like hardcore Edge, Edge and Lita, around that WrestleMania run versus Mick Foley. That's the Edge that I want to see in a match against Dean Ambrose. Now, moving on, we've got a couple classic dream matches that everybody's wanted to see over the years that we had to include. And you guys, of course, the Rope Breakers on Facebook suggested them, so we included them. We've got CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's for the Attitude Era WWF title. That would draw mega money. Great match and a classic. Like I said, now the other classic comes really without saying. But we added our own gimmick to it. It's going to be The Undertaker versus Sting. And the cool thing about the WrestleMania Dream Card is we're pinning these guys up in their primes. So it's not going to be WrestleMania 31. Both guys have to bring a nebulizer out to the ring or anything like that. It's going to be Taker versus Sting in their prime, and it's going to be for the heavyweight title in a Hell in a Cell. Next match we got tag team match. It's not just a tag team match. It's a tornado tag team tables match between the Ascension and the Legion of Doom. What a rush. Now, you might be saying, tables, you had to bring the Dudleys in there. Well, just stay tuned, damn it, all right? We've also got a Divas match, but it's not a Divas match. It's for the women's title. It's an over-the-top steel cage match. So what that means is no getting out with the door. You've got to climb over the top. For the women's title, it's Paige versus AJ Lee versus Lita. That's right, a triple threat over-the-top steel cage match for the women's title. And if you're not going to say it, I'm not going to say it. Ron Simmons will say it. Damn! The next match we've got, another classic, something that a lot of people want to see, something that would certainly be the biggest draw in WrestleMania history as far as money-wise goes, and we've added a gimmick to it. We tried to put almost a gimmick on every match because, let's face it, they're going to be going up against each other in voting, and if you have one match that has a gimmick and one that doesn't, it's kind of going to lopside the voting. So we have an I Quit match for the WWE Championship spinner belt between John Cena and Hulk Hogan. An I Quit match. Neither of these guys ever quit. They don't quit. Not sure they ever have quit, but one of them will have to quit when they face each other for the WWE Championship with the spinner belt. Now, the next match, a lot of people might say, now that's not necessarily a dream match, but you got to give it a little bit of imagination, if you will. I think right off the rip, when we first came up with this match, I thought it was definitely a go. It might not win the whole tournament, but it definitely belongs in a card that a lot of people would want to see. It's for the WCW title, and it's between Booker T and Titus O'Neil. Now, I'm kind of going off of Titus O'Neil's potential here and what he could do had he been pushed properly. That big body versus King Booker, not necessarily King Booker, but Booker T for the WCW title. Five time. Next match on the card doesn't have a gimmick. One of the few that does not have a gimmick, and I think it really doesn't need to. I'm surprised nobody even proposed this match. Again, not necessarily one that could win the whole thing, but definitely a match we want to see. It's the bad guy, Razor Ramon versus Dolph Ziggler, the show-off. Definitely a good match between those two. Next match is for the Attitude Era Intercontinental Championship, and it's between Y2J Chris Jericho versus Tyler Breeze. What do you guys think about that? I think that'd be a pretty awesome match to watch. Next match is for the unified WWE World Heavyweight Championships. The most recent one, not the one Jericho won that was turned into the unified belt. The most recent championship, and it's the first guy to ever win those straps or get that title, so to speak, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Randy Orton, versus, oh yeah, the Macho Man, Randy Savage, oh yeah. You don't know anything about the Macho Man, Orton, and you stay away from Miss Elizabeth. That's the whole gimmick we're going off of there. Could you imagine Randy Orton putting his hands on Miss Elizabeth as the legend killer with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on the line versus the Macho King with Miss Elizabeth in his corner. I think that'd be a classic match to see. The next match was one that a lot of people really wanted to see, according to the Facebook votes, and that is The Great One versus Roman Reigns, The Rock versus Roman Reigns, cousins, Samoan cousins going one-on-one, the battle for Samoan supremacy. The Rock versus Roman Reigns. That one could steal the show and win the whole damn thing. Next match we got another tag team match. A tables, ladders, and chairs match between the Usos and the Hardys. The match following that, another match that was proposed a few times on the Facebook page. Big Show versus Andre the Giant. The Battle of the Giants. Speaking of Giants, the next match, Big E Langston versus Mark Henry. World's Strongest Man versus Big E Langston, who many people think really is the world's strongest man with the type of weightlifting he does. Intriguing match following that. How about an ECW championship match? Extreme Rules match for the ECW championship. It's Adrian Neville versus Rob Van Dam. Now that would be a sight to see. Remember, these guys are in their prime, not the current version now. Next match, another tag team tables match. And this time, you got your Dudley Boys versus Rowan and Harper, the Wyatts. Now that, again, would be a match to see. Next match, Owen Hart versus Cody Rhodes. This one didn't need a gimmick either. Just another one of those wrestling matches. Could you imagine a wrestling match between Owen Hart and Cody Rhodes in their primes? That would be excellent to see. Now, kind of a couple odd pairings to round out the card. And that starts off with Bad News Barrett versus Ric Flair. Two styling and profiling guys, if you will, not necessarily, but I think Ric Flair and Bad News Barrett would definitely match up well. You've got a couple of heel guys there. You expect a lot of people to be rooting for Ric Flair there, and Bad News Barrett really over as a heel there. Then, second to last match, a battle of wrestlers. And you're going to at first say, what? This doesn't make any sense, but let me speak it out. It's the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, listen, we've heard in the past Bret Hart say he would have loved to wrestle Brock Lesnar, and I'm talking not Brock Lesnar that you know now, not beefed up UFC Brock Lesnar. I'm talking about 2002 WrestleMania 19 Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. Wrestler Brock Lesnar, not brawler Brock Lesnar. College wrestler Brock Lesnar versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Expect a very technically sound match between those two, and definitely a sight to see there. A heel Brock Lesnar versus Bret the Hitman Hart. And the final match is going to be a real head-scratcher. Comes in as one of our lower seeds. But this is kind of something that the guys and I talked about, where if Damien Sandow was not buried to the point he's buried now, and he was pushed when he won the Money in the Bank Championship match, this would have been an intriguing battle between Triple H versus Damien Sandow, no holds barred. I think that match would have been definitely good, because the Damien Sandow gimmick that we originally saw with the robe and the thank you and the intellectual savior kind of mirrored the Hunter Hearst Helmsley gimmick. Flash forward, they both break out of that, both become world champions, and you got a great match there. Would have been a sight to see. Probably not even going to make it out of the first round now, just because Damien Sandow is now Lance Stevenson, Davey Crockett, and all that other garbage. But now that we've got all the matchups slated, we can give you guys the actual card, and here it is. So in the first round, you've got Dolph Ziggler versus Razor Ramon taking on Chris Jericho versus Tyler Breeze. Winner faces Taker versus Sting. Then you've got Savage versus Orton versus Triple H versus Sandow. Winner moves on to the second round, and the winner will face the winner of The Rock versus Roman Reigns, or Cody Rhodes versus Owen Hart. HBK versus Seth Rollins gets the 4 seed and moves on to the second round with a bye, and they'll face the winner of Edge versus Ambrose or Booker T versus Titus O'Neil. Bray Wyatt versus Mankind slated in the 5 seed, and they will face the winner of Big Show versus Andre or Dudley's versus Rowan and Harper. Austin versus Punk gets the 2 seed, and they'll face the winner of Bret the Hitman Hart versus Brock Lesnar or Wade Barrett, Bad News Barrett, versus Ric Flair. Cesaro and Angle get the 7 seed and a first round bye. They face the winner of Paige versus Lita versus AJ or Adrian Neville versus Rob Van Dam. The number 3 seed is Chris Benoit versus Daniel Bryan, and they get the winner of Sami Zayn versus Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio, or the Usos versus the Hardys. And Cena and Hogan, the last matchup to get a first round bye. At the bottom of the bracket, they face the winner of Big E versus Mark Henry, or the Ascension versus the Legion of Doom. And that is the WrestleMania Dream Card. Like I said, Monday night, we will be starting the voting for the first round. So you get to vote on Razor versus Ziggler, Jericho versus Breeze, Savage versus Orton, Triple H versus Sandow, Rock versus Reigns, Rhodes versus Owen, Edge versus Ambrose versus Booker T versus Titus O'Neil, Big Show versus Andre with Dudley Boyz versus Harper, Hart versus Lesnar versus Barrett versus Flair, Paige versus Lita versus AJ versus Neville versus RVD, Zayn versus Eddie versus Ray versus Usos versus Hardys, Ascension versus Legion of Doom versus Big E versus Henry. A lot of verses in there. And of course, those winners will go on to face the matches that got the first round bye. We want to hear what you guys say. You can also speak your mind on Twitter by tweeting hashtag DreamCard. Hashtag Rope Break Dream Card, or hashtag RBW Dream Card. And anybody that tweets with the hashtag RBW Dream Card will get followed by us on Twitter. And of course, you can comment below and give us your early favorites to win the whole damn thing. Personally, I think we're going to see something like Taker, Sting, Punk, Austin. It's going to be one of those matches that got the first round bye. But do you think there's any sleeper teams? Tweet us, comment below, let us know. This, of course, has been Rope Break Radio. We do it every week. We're going to do it again next week, and we might even reveal, yes we will, our giveaways for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So if you're looking to win a giveaway, you need to listen to this podcast to find out. We appreciate you listening. Thanks for making it all the way through. I'm AuSSy for RopeBreakWrestling.com. Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for next week's episode of Rope Break Radio.
Rope Break Radio is brought to you by RopeBreakWrestling.com. Like us on Facebook, Rope Break Wrestling, and follow us on Twitter at Rope Break Wrestling. And of course by AA Digital Design and Film Production. For any of your small business, website, or Facebook page needs, the only way is AA.